Hey, what's happening? So today I just wanted to talk to you about the pluses and minuses, basically just like a little review of the Progress Hybrid Ash Pan. So this thing, it is awesome for some things and it really does suck for other. One thing that's awesome about it is that you can open this up and if the fire's barely going, I don't have anything in here. I can touch it with my hand. If the fire's barely going, you can open it up, have some sticks in there, and it is great because it will just suck the air out of the room straight up through the firebox and whoosh, gush right out there, and it will get the fire going very easily for you. The other thing is, you can see I just use a shovel, scoot it across here, and all the small ashes drop down into the ash pan. The basic functioning of an ash pan. The minuses to the ash pan, number one, it doesn't, it like moves one side and then the other. Like my wife has a really hard time locking it in place because you can lock one side in, and I don't know if you can tell how crooked it is right now, but you can lock one side in or the other side, and it's both locked in. But sometimes you can see one side won't be locked in, and if you have the combustor engaged, then it sucks in too much air too fast, and you can still have an overfiring because the same thing happens as when as when you open it up and you get it going. The other thing is sometimes you might not think it gets very hot. This bar will stay pretty cool because it's not connected to anything. But if you really have a hot fire going, you have to, if you touch the sides with your bare hands, it is very hot. So you can open it very easily with one hand. Closing it, you need both hands on both sides to click it in place. It's very, you can't you can't do it with one hand because you need to push on it and click it down into place at the same time. So closing it, you need two hands. Opening, you can use one. So that's just how it is. It's not the greatest. I don't really like how it's one side is independent of the other side. Should be able to be the same. The other thing that is a huge negative to this thing that I have found, sometimes if you get lazy, and you'll notice all of the, you see how it's, the ashes won't fall in this spot right here. It's because the ashes are all the way up to the top. So if you are lazy, which obviously happens sometimes, especially by the end of the season, what happens is the whole thing will get filled, and it becomes basically like when you take like a cup of flour and you scoop a cup of flour and then you scrape off the excess across the top. That pretty much happens the same thing with this ash pan. When you take it out, you jiggle it around to let some of the ashes just kind of fall and scoot around and level themselves out inside the ash pan. However, if it's really filled up, what happens is you start pulling it out and it all gets scraped off across the top. And the only place for it to fall is right here in the seam. So you can see I have some of the fire rope, the fireproof rope. It falls all right here in the seam. Then you have to vacuum it out and you have to clean it out, and it really is not my favorite thing. Especially if sometimes you have a fire going. If you're lucky enough and it's warm enough so the fire can go out, then you're good. But if you have a hot fire in here and you're like, oh boy, I gotta take that out, and you gotta take that out, dump that out, hurry up, vacuum that out before you close it back up again. Otherwise it could get too hot in there. So the fire, having the ash pan open, definitely makes a super hot fire. You can overfire very easily if you don't have that closed properly and all the way. But overall, yeah, it's awesome because you can easily go out. Now I can easily go outside, dump the ashes out of the ash pan, come right back, get the fire started, just keep the ash pan open. 15 minutes later, I've got a nice fire in here, and then it starts warming up. Obviously, because it's a gorgeous soapstone stove, it's going to just like heat up the whole room for hours and hours. But that's the pluses and minuses to the ash pan. Overall, would I recommend it? Definitely. The pluses outweigh the negatives. There are negatives to it, so you just be aware of that. But yeah, I would say mostly pluses. Thanks. Let me know what you think.